This is a how-to video on how to create a yard sign. So your parameters for the sign are going to be 11 by 11. That's the area that you're working within. It can be smaller than that. So you need to have a stake that goes into the ground, and you need to have an object itself. So we're going to start with the object. I'm going to pick a soccer ball. It's pretty simple. So I went and typed in soccer clip art, and really black and white would be much better here. The simpler the object, the better off we're going to be. So I can see here it's just the outline of the shapes. This, if I brought this in or this one, it has a little bit more definition. So it's probably going to be easier to work with because like I'm imagining here that this white space right in here is going to fall through. So it's going to be cut out, which is what I want. If I go with something like this, I'm going to have to thicken some of these lines so that way I can get some of the colors to fall through. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on it. I'm going to hit save image as. I'm going to save it to the desktop. It saves as a PNG image, which is not good. We don't want that, but I'll show you how to change that next. I'm going to put soccer ball, and it's a PNG, so I'm going to type in PNG image just so that way the save file makes sense in my head. Minimize that. I'm going to get all the way to the screen, home screen here. I'm going to go to the search bar. I'm going to type in paint. It'll search for the paint program. I'm just going to throw this to the side here so I can see the desktop. Throw the soccer ball into the paint program, and then I'm going to go save as. So I'm not even doing anything to it here. If you want to delete, hide, add, edit this thing, that would be totally fine. You could do that here. You could paintbrush. So if I wanted to add something here, I can add it with the text tool. There's a text tool somewhere within this. If you wanted to edit, delete things, whatever you want to do, it would be very easy to do it in this paint program and then bring it over. I don't want to do that right now for this example, so I'm going to undo the paint drawing that I did. I'm going to go File, Save As. I need to save this as a JPEG image, so as a JPEG picture. So I'm going to click JPEG. It's going to ask me where I want to save it. I'm going to click on the desktop there. And soccer ball PNG, it's no longer a PNG, it is a JPEG image. And then I click save, and I know it's going to the desktop there. Okay, so now I'm going to exit out of that. I don't need that anymore. So I can see soccer ball JPEG image, soccer ball PNG image. Makes sense to me. I can find what I'm needing to. I pull up a brand new Torchmate file, and I'm going to go File, Acquire Image, Scan and Trace Wizard. Next, browse the computer and load a saved image file. Is what I want. Next, click on these three dots. Click on my desktop, and I can see that there's a soccer ball JPEG image. It likes JPEGs for some reason. It does not like PNG. It does not like basically everything else. But we can easily save it as a JPEG using the Paint tool. Then I go to Next. Here you have to scroll this left or right. This brings in the amount of detail. It's converting it to a vector image. So it's taking a picture, an image, and it's making it into a vector. So it's making it into lines is what it's doing. And so I'm bringing in a certain amount of detail. As I go back and forth, it's bringing in more or less. So I'm really looking at the crispness of the lines right here. And actually, not a whole lot of difference there if I scroll most of the way left and most of the way right. So I'm just going to leave it somewhere there in the middle. Next, and hit apply. This last button up here, please don't forget this. It'll cause you problems later. I can go to retrace, and it brings me back to this, or I can go to finish. You probably just want to click finish. I don't know, even myself using this, I'm not going to use the retrace button very often, if at all. make this a larger image. So I know that I'm working with 11 by 11. Sometimes you have issues with proportional scaling, so keep an eye on this little lock thing here. It will keep it proportional, or it will allow you to make this thing skinny or wide, fat, or whatever you want. I want it to stay proportional because it is a soccer ball. So 11 is my max. I can't make a yard sign with a stake though if that thing is a full 11. So it needs to go down smaller. So let's say 6. My total shape size that I'm going to be working with is 11 by 11. If we can keep this under 11 by 11, then we'll have enough metal for the entire class to do this assignment. So I'm going to put this more towards the top of the square. So this being 6, and if I make a stake coming out the bottom of this, which is going to be 2 arrows is all that's going to be, then I'm going to have a decent amount of metal that goes into the ground. But I'm seeing that maybe I have too much here, so make this 7. That way my stake will end up being about 3 inches in the ground. That's not too bad. And I'm going to build this basic frame that this will attach to. This thing, I'm looking, oops, I'm gonna hit X there. So my soccer ball is 7 inches wide. So I'm gonna make this thing 7 inches wide just to match it. I click on both objects and I can hit C for center, just the letter C for center, and it shifts the thing left or right to where they're both centered with each other. If I do E for even, it brings it up into the middle, and I do not want E for even. I'm just doing C for center. Then I'm going to build the stakes out on the bottom of this, which if you go to the object command, then you can choose an arrow. I'm going to point the arrow down. And then I can work with all these different object or different things up here. So I know that my arrow needs to be 3 inches in total length. Need it to be the width of that. I'm going to go for 1, the total width. And the other details you can mess with if you'd like. I'm not too worried about it right now. I did not make my arrow straight, so I'm going to straighten that out a little bit. There we go. You want it to overlap here, and I want this to come all the way down and touch the bottom. So I'm going to duplicate it. I think I can get 3 arrows in on this size, and these are going to be stakes that go into the ground, so they're not actually arrows. Okay. So there's my overall shape. Now I can just work within it. I'll just move my size checkbox off to the side. I'm going to turn my show fill back on. And I can see here, see all these little dots all over the screen here, and you might have grid on yours. I can't see that in here. So I need to go up to machine, or arrange, I'm sorry, and I'm going to do break path. And now I can come in here and all of these objects, I need to do something with them now. So if I move them off to the side, I can see that's going to cause an issue for me. So I'm going to select one object and then select the background. And then I'm going to do an XOR weld. Okay, now I can see the dot through it. So I need to do that for every single one of these. And unfortunately, we do have to do them one at a time. This little thing isn't even going to come through. I can see that, well, it might. I'll go ahead and try. It might be a small little cutout. So I'm getting all of those white shapes. And if it won't work for you with them being different colors, then highlight everything and make them all the same layer, which is the black layer down here at the bottom of the screen. It seems to be working right now for me, which is interesting because last time I did this, it did not work for me to do two different colors welded together or welded apart. But it's working right now, so I'm going to take it. If it doesn't work for you, then you now have the fix. Okay, so that gets me to where all of those white spots are now good. What I want to check on before I move on any further is that the distance, the thinnest piece of metal that this plasma cutter, because it's not a laser, it can't do a whole lot of detail. The thinnest it can do is like 0.2. So I'm going to make a box that is 0.2 by 0.2, and this is just a reference. And it looks like I need to turn the thing sideways, and then I can line it up. And so it looks like I need to bolster this a little bit, but that's pretty close. So I'm gonna risk it since it is pretty close to being 0.2, and I'm gonna leave those lines how they are. You guys can do that, or you can make a judgment call and bolster it up a little bit more. The next thing that you can do that I'm going to do on this is I'm going to put a box across here, and I don't know where I'm going to end up putting this, but I'm going to end up doing MHS soccer. And then my next steps, and I don't need to detail out every single step here because a lot of this you guys will know already, but my next steps will be I'm going to duplicate this and just move it off to the side just so I have a backup to go to once I start welding everything together. I'm going to weld this together. So now it's one whole object. To make sure it's one whole object, I can bring it down here. If anything was left behind, if there's anything in this space right here, it's not a part of it, and you need to go back, like hit the undo button and get that fixed. My next steps will be to insert a box and then put text on top of it and cut it through. My text will say MHS soccer. And I might have to work on the size of that. I might not even be able to with this size of an object, but next step would be machine, create toolpath, online, basic cut. Feed rate has to be 100. Lead in, lead out. You're going to do adjust start point. Click on this top button. It shows the tool pass and tool pass only, which is key there. Make sure you're in the 0 coordinates here, and then you go to machine, output, and you can do cut now. And I'm going to save this to the desktop. You can save it straight to your flash drive, so just make sure you save your flash drive. I'm going to type in soccer ball cut file, and this is actually soccer ball yard sign that file, and I save that. And I want to make sure I save my file itself. You probably should have already done this and probably will do this already. Soccer ball yard sign. I'm going to save it to the desktop. I don't have a flash drive in here right now. Hit save, and we are done with that.